How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? And welcome back to another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. It is baseball eve here on Cubs Daily. The Cubs will be visiting Arizona tomorrow at 9:10 Central Time. Make sure you guys are ready. Make sure the kids are put to sleep so you guys can go crazy for some Cubs baseball. I am beyond excited, ladies and gentlemen. I am excited to watch the Cubs play in some regular season action. I'm excited to see the Cubs bounce back from that trip to Japan on domestic soil. I'm excited for it all. We got a few more topics to run into today. Hopefully we'll give you guys a little breakdown here of the roster in one of the upcoming videos. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everyone who has supported the channel. Thank you for all the subscribers. Thank you to all the likes. And I appreciate all the comments as well. So let's hop right into today's festivities and talk about maybe a key contributor to this Cubs pitching staff. That's going to be Mr. Porter Hodge. Last year, on the second half of the year, he jumped onto the scene. He appeared in 39 games. He finished 17 of them, and he was a very, very good pitcher. For the 1.88 ERA, he saved 9 games for the Cubs. Now, the Cubs did acquire Ryan Pressly, but the way Ryan Pressly has looked this spring so far, Porter Hodge might be the guy to step in and take over for him if, things go real quick. But we're really hoping that Porter can step in and at least be a good 7th, 8th, high inning leverage guy when the Cubs have leads in ball games. Last year was incredible. This year, he has looked just as good in the spring, and that is very important, right? So generally throughout my life, relievers have either been very, very up or very, very down. Like, either they have a 4-something ERA or they have a 2-something ERA. And it's kind of like every other year kind of deal. A lot of reaction, studying their pitches and stuff like that, seeing how they can adjust to that and then attack batters in that fashion. But seldom rarely do we see a guy who can just go out there and have a 2 ERA or less consistently. Mariano Rivera comes to my mind when I think of that. Just Mr. Consistent, right? That does not happen all too often. There are obviously very good relievers, but even like, for example, Josh Hader. Josh Hader has had some years where he's gotten roughed up in comparison to previous years with that devastating fastball. So exciting to see Porter Hodge's development here going forward, and if he can continue on that mainstay, having that great ERA, K'ing out the guys, and getting outs in high leverage situations, I do expect to see him potentially very early this year become our closer, especially if Mr. Pressly has lost a touch on that fastball. So great stuff from Porter Hodge this spring. I'm excited to see that continue here into April and early May. So we are on the last portion of the schedule, ladies and gentlemen. We've done all the months. Some tough months ahead, but there are some easy months. But it feels like every month there's a couple of matchups that the Cubs really either need to have, and then there's a couple of matchups where the Cubs, they aren't necessarily going to be favored in those games as well. And September, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely no different whatsoever. We go to Atlanta, and Atlanta comes to us. Atlanta had a down year last year due to injuries mainly, right? Incredible ball club. Ronald Acuna is going to come back healthy. They're hoping to get Spencer Strider, their ace, back, etc., etc. I expect the Braves to be very formidable, especially entering the month of September, as they are looking to either reclaim that NL East title or solidify their spots as wild card contenders. The Braves are going to be absolutely tough, and sandwiched in between the Braves are the Nationals. The Nationals, ladies and gentlemen, might not have a good record this year, but do not let that fool you. They got some talent on this team, okay? If you remember C.J. Abrams last year, he had a really good year for them. James Wood will be entering his first full season as the Nationals starter. He is an absolute stud. Be careful about him. And then they'll take second overall pick Dylan Cruz. He'll probably be starting with that team, or at least he'll definitely be playing by the time the Cubs see him at home in September here. And that's not going to be an easy matchup, ladies and gentlemen. The Nationals will be tough. Do worry, because the Cubs are going to probably have to take 2 or 3 here, as we will be competing for the wild card or looking to stable off that division, the NL Central. So the Nationals are going to be a tough opponent. I'm glad we're getting them at home. After the quick trip to Atlanta, we got the Rays coming to town. The Rays could be either or. You know that they're a well-run organization that has a great development of pitching staff. The hitting is kind of Chris Morel is going to be making his homecoming return. Either way, the Rays, we don't know anything about the Rays, so we know that that's going to be a tough matchup for us. So we have to stay focused and win these ball games at home. Then we're going on the road for a week. We got Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. We got to take care of Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh's truly out of it by now, they might have shut down Paul Skeens and Jared Jones by then. The Reds could be vying for that last-ditch effort to win the NL Central, and those 4 games, the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st, could set the tone for the division, especially as a lot of people project the Reds to be a very, very good ball club this year. Then we are ending the season at Wrigley, ladies and gentlemen. We got the Mets during the middle of the week. You know, the Mets have one of the best payrolls, highest payrolls in all of baseball. They'll be tough. And then ending with the Cardinals is no easy task for the Cubs. So, decent average month, I'd say, of September. The Cubs are really going to have to steal some games and win games where they're not necessarily favored. But I think it's a good enough ball club to accomplish that. So, excited for the season to begin. And I think the Cubs are already catching a massive break already in this Arizona series. We got some of the projected starters already. You guys will see those videos here in the next few days. But it looks like the Cubs are going to miss Corbin Carroll, who I believe has started on Monday. So they don't want to rush him back. They don't want to, they want him to get his every 5 days, et cetera, et cetera. So he will not face the Cubs. It looks like the Cubs are going to deal with Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, and Eduardo Rodriguez. We will have a full breakdown of those pitching matchups right here on Cubs Daily. So like I've said before, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more of that great content. So, again, we know Corbin Burnes as a Milwaukee Brewer. He was an absolute stud as a Brewer, absolute stud last year as an Oriole. So anytime the Cubs can avoid that, it is a blessing in disguise. Do not worry. But I will say this. I'm glad we're not facing him, but I'm also kind of okay if we did face him because we've seen him so much with the Milwaukee Brewers that it doesn't bother me as much, right? Like dealing with someone like Merrill Kelly or, Zach Gallen, those guys we don't see as much. Those guys are tougher for us to hit. So, again, avoiding Corbin Burnes is a blessing, and I'm going to look at it that way. But of the 4 Arizona starters, I think the Cubs know Corbin Burnes the best, so maybe they have the best chance to have success against him. But we'll have more of those breakdowns coming up, ladies and gentlemen, for you guys. But I just want to say, hey, happy Baseball Eve, opening day eve from me here on Cubs Daily. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic year as we are tracking the Chicago Cubs. Again, I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below your instant reactions to games. Come back to the video when the game's over. Comment below. What should the Cubs have done? What would you have done in that situation? We all love to play manager from the TV screen. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. And let's have fun with the Cubs this year. It's going to be an absolute blast. The Cubs should be good. I think last year their pitching was really, really good. I think their hitting was even more unlucky than usual. So I'm hoping the Cubs can kind of subtract. Maybe the pitching was just as good as unlucky as the hitting was. Again, the Cubs still finished a little bit above 500. I do expect them to be better. I think Kyle Tucker's going to have a big year. I think a lot of these young players are going to have big years too and really propel the Cubs to that next level. So, again, for me, Steven Ryan, it's an absolute pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the Game 1 preview. It is going to be Justin Steele versus Zach Gallen. 9:10 Central Time. Make sure your notifications are on, and I'll see you then.